think you're going to love today's call. I hope. It's a wonderful, wonderful artist today. Quite famous. Not many people in person, I think maybe because of the beautiful weather, or maybe they're going to trickle in. Has anybody talked to Eileen?
Yeah, she's gonna have a degree.
Oh, okay.
I guess trying to figure out how she's gonna.
Can her sister come help, or
I don't know because she's in
California? Yeah. It's too bad. Well, we're going to miss her. All right, I think we can begin, Laura, whenever you're ready. All right, good morning, folks. Welcome to Art with Liz. We are the Hoboken Library hybrid class. I will begin, as always, by thanking the extraordinary Hoboken Public Library for allowing us to have in-person as well as at-home YouTube, Zoom classes. We are at the end of April, maybe one of the longest months of the year, or it seemed quite long this year. And we are going to end our celebration of National Poetry, Jazz, and Muslim American History Month with an artist who I hold near and dear to my heart. Her name is Joan Mitchell. Joan Mitchell has been recognized as one of the most significant artists of the post-war era. And she was an abstract artist, incredibly prolific. She painted many, many, many paintings. She was born in 1925 and she died in 1992. It seems like she's still alive to me. I still find it hard to believe that she has passed. She was born February 12th, 1925, and she attended the School of the Art Institute in Chicago. We are going to start, as always, with a short slideshow of her work. We're going to look at and discuss her paintings, and then we're going to do our own art. Folks at home, if you could let me know, you can see the first slide in the slideshow. Good morning. People are dribbling in. Thank you, Margot. So, born in Chicago on February 12th, 1925, she attended the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. My son went there for 2 years, so it's quite a wonderful place. And when she graduated in 1947, she was awarded a travel fellowship that took her to France for a year. In France, her paintings became increasingly abstract. And she returned to the US in 1949 and settled in New York, where she became an active participant in what was called the New York School, and that's in quotes, quote, New York School, end quote, of painters and poets. She hung out a lot with poets, which is why I chose her as the final artist for National Poetry Month. In fact, she calls her paintings visual poems. She works with her emotions. She recognizes that what she paints is filled with emotion and that they can possibly represent poetry on canvas. She worked primarily in oils, often in watercolors, sometimes in mixed media. They're very colorful, and she calls them landscapes of her memory. She exhibited in the famous 9th Street show in 1951, and she established a reputation as one of the leading young abstract expressionist painters. Starting in 1955, she divided her time between New York and France, and in 1959, she settled permanently in France. And Heather, please help me pronounce the name of this town. In 1968, she moved to Vétheuil, Vetheuil, a small town northwest of Paris, where she worked continuously until her death in 1992. So this image that I have up is from a book of her work. So you see a dividing line down the middle, and that's because the image spreads across 2 pages in the book. I think there are a few images from this book, so don't be confused by that line down the middle. It is just the binding of the book. So some of the defining elements in her work in Mitchell's world are things like water, trees. She loved dogs, poetry, music, and she created images and memories from which she worked. And she once said, quote, "I paint from remembered landscapes that I carried with me and remembered feelings of them, which of course become transformed. I could certainly never mirror nature. I would like more to paint what it leaves with me." I like that. So she's not attempting to recreate nature. I think it's more like she's trying to capture her memories of what the nature looked like. This is oil pastel, a material that we use frequently in this class. It's what children use in their classrooms, but she loved oil pastel and used it frequently. She liked soft pastels as well, and in her drawings, she used it quite a bit. She observed landscape intensely, and her acute visual observation of form, space, and color in life were part of the visual memories she drew upon while painting. She was very much involved with contrast, very similar to the artist we talked about yesterday, Luc Tuymans. Some of you who were with me yesterday might remember what we were talking about. She loved playing with dark and light, heavy and light. She liked the push and pull of top and bottom, and often thought about how they interacted with each other in the composition of her painting, and would often think about which colors worked well depending on where they were placed in the painting. She achieved significant critical and commercial success in her lifetime. She was able to support herself and support herself well through her art. She exhibited regularly in New York and Paris, particularly throughout the later decades of her life. As with most female artists, she became even more famous as she aged. She showed at the Whitney Museum of American Art, the Art Institute of Chicago, the Museum of Modern Art, and these museums and other major institutions began collecting her paintings in the 1950s. She had a mid-career retrospective at the Whitney Museum in 1974, and in 1982, she became the first female American artist to have a solo exhibition at the Musée d'Art Moderne de la Ville de Paris. This is one of my favorite Mitchell paintings. I like the kind of angry, intense, aggressive middle portion of this painting, kind of balanced by the lighter, brighter top and bottom of the piece. One of the most famous things she ever said was that if I could paint like Matisse, I would be in heaven. So Matisse was a big influence on her work. And we have looked at Matisse and talked about him quite a bit. He too was attracted to natural form, organic form, and bright light color. There was a traveling exhibition of her paintings called The Paintings of Joan Mitchell, 36 Years of Natural Expressionism, and it toured the United States in 1988. And one of the most cool things about her, I think, was she had a commitment to helping other artists. And she worked throughout her whole life helping young artists and writers. And they would come and stay at her home in Veyteuil, and sometimes for just a night, and sometimes for months or entire summers. And her correspondence in her papers reveal the generosity of her spirit and how she helped change the lives of many young artists and writers throughout her own career. You can really see the effect of nature on her visual perception in this piece. This one really looks like a plant to me, or a tree, or something growing up through the middle of this composition. There's definitely a ground at the bottom and a sky at the top. After she died in Paris on October 30th, 1992, a foundation in her name, the Joan Mitchell Foundation, was created to support the recognition of individual artists. And many artists have benefited from that foundation over the years, many of whom have become famous because of grants from that foundation. Look at the fabulous red, the way she used red in this painting, and the green. So this one looks like it could be oil and soft pastel. It's some kind of mixed media drawing, I believe. It could be oil stick. I'm not sure. It looks very fast, but she spent a lot of time thinking about her work. Like I said, composition was very important to her. Memories of landscapes inspired her compositions. She said, quote, "I carry my landscapes around with me." Contrast again, straight contrasted with squiggly and loose. Hard, soft contrast. Direct, indirect. Left, right contrast. Deep, intense with more diffuse. Seemingly planned with more haptic and unconstrained. There was always that push-pull in her work. Light and dark, maybe even day and night, sky and earth. She also, this is a watercolor or maybe a print. This might be a print. She did a lot of lithography. I think this is a print, sorry. But she did a lot of watercolor. Share your feelings. So her work was all about her emotions. She was very open about getting her emotions on canvas. And this is what was poetry to her, allowing the emotions to flow. I'm sorry, Laura, Robin has not received the link. Interesting, a little bit of orange in this one.
Did she ever talk about the process of writing poetry and compare that to the visual?
I don't know, Ken. It's an interesting question. I don't know.
Because the few times I tried to write a poem, it felt like I was listening or feeling very intently without thinking about it, and just let this mood or background feelings emerge and get stronger. And eventually that would stimulate images. And then I would translate the images into words. And then add, the lyricism or whatever I needed to make it a poem. So it's a very interesting process. It's like pulling something in the background that's almost unconscious and then making it a prominent foreground object.
So very similar to what she's trying to do with paint, I think. Drawing from memory, from unconscious, from feelings to create imagery. But with poetry, it's word imagery. With painting, it's visual imagery.
Her style change. See, this to me is much more interesting.
Why? Can you put into words? I know it's hard.
I can see flowers.
Okay.
And those early ones, it was almost like it was just lines that I couldn't, in my mind, relate to.
Okay.
Object. This, I mean, to me, the early ones you could say, oh, a 3-year-old, but obviously a 3-year-old couldn't do that.
And I would argue a 3-year-old could do something like what Joan Mitchell did, but not what Joan Mitchell did. Okay. That's a cool observation. Okay. So people are seeing things and figures in this one. Cool.
When I took an art class in college, I tried different things because it's a process of discovery. And when I did things that were more like the stuff more abstract earlier, people I showed to would say, why are you trying to do that? You're not very good at that. If I did something a little more representation, they said, when you could be doing this, you're so good at this. And I thought, well, why am I taking classes in all these different subjects if not trying to learn something that I don't know that well? That isn't quite, it's something that comes so easily that I can do that. I want to grow and learn something. So I think about that when I look at art that looks very abstract and things that look representational. And, I like the broad variety of stuff. But I always feel like, oh, I had this kind of sense or vision of something I wanted to emerge. I didn't quite get there. People aren't seeing it, even though I can kind of see it.
Interesting. So everyone's approach to the creative process is different.
Yeah,
and
it's
our
also
appreciation for
the
imagery.
audience is part of the art, and they bring to it their perception. And
Of
they add
course.
to the art in some way.
Of course. And excuse me. Oh, thank you, Laura. Awesome. Great comments from both Alice and Ken. Thank you. And also, thank you. So I'm going to go through these quickly now. This to me looks like a flower garden. If we need to see something in it, I see a garden. This one kind of reminds me of Monet. But we're going to go through quickly now. And that is the final.
The texture background looks kind of like a wall.
It does have a wall, like stone wall feeling to it. And again, I like the contrast of very crazed and wild in the middle, colorful, and then the heavy, dense, more organized structure of what could be blocks of stone surrounding the middle portion.
So this is making me think a little bit about graffiti art.
A little bit like graffiti art. Awesome comments today.
So
Thank you.
what are graffiti artists showing?
Yes.
Is there any overlap with what she's doing?
All right. So I know some of us have arrived at different times for this class. Our artist is Joan Mitchell, great abstract expressionist artist. If you missed some of the slideshow, I am going to be putting up a picture of her work. You can also find many, many images of her paintings online. She was incredibly prolific artist. She worked primarily in oils, but also in a variety of media. So we're going to stop the slideshow. And we're going to work today ourselves in abstract expressionism, but I want you to think about landscape. I want you to think about places that are either imaginary or places that you've been to that you hold in your memory, and think about what emotions they bring up for you. And today I've invited folks to bring poems. It was in the email that I sent out. People are looking at me quizzically. If you received the email that I sent out, it invited you to bring a poem. So during our lesson, if you did bring a poem, I'm going to allow people to read poems, and I have brought poems as well to read to help stimulate our imagination and our creative process today as well. It really is a wonderful way to do visual art. Listening to poetry opens up all kinds of avenues of creativity. I will be putting a picture up on the screen of Joan Mitchell's work for those of you who enjoy copying the artist of the day. And I am going to, if we're able to today, I just decided to do this, Laura, I'd like to do a demo. Reviewing some of the watercolor techniques. If you can't do the demo, I think most of you here have watched me do this before. There are different sized brushes, there are watercolor kits, there are oil pastels, there are soft pastels, and regular pencils. Any questions about what we're going to do today? We're good to go? Any last minute comments, thoughts, or ideas about Joan Mitchell? One last thing I want to say, the book of poems that I'm going to read from, one of my favorites, it is called The Wild Iris by Louise Gluck. If you are suffering any kind of loss in your life, she is a wonderful poet to turn to. She helped me at a time of deep loss in my life. Her poems are really effective. Okay. let's get our supplies. And if we're able to do a demonstration, I'm going to be setting up for the demonstration. We'll do the demonstration first, and then I will put a Joan Mitchell picture up. If you don't want to watch the demonstration, just start working from your imagination or look for a Joan Mitchell picture picture on your smartphone if you are lucky enough to have one. All right, let's go to work. Let's have some serious fun. Have at it. Oh, watercolor paper, it's smaller, the smaller pieces of paper at the back. It is the heavier weight paper and it is textured. If you are doing dry media only today, use the larger white pieces of paper with the smooth texture. All right, let's go to work. And while you're getting your materials, kudos to everyone who was in the art show. It was a great, great, great success. I was very proud of every artist who participated. Thanks to all of you who came and supported us. I hope we get to do another art show in the not too distant future. Those of you who did not participate, I really encourage you to participate in the next one. We got a lot of positive comments. And we sold some more. Hello. We made some sales. Okay. It was a last minute decision, Laura. So if we're unable to do a demo, that's okay. Absolutely. Or so. Very good. John, I forgot your name. I just see you and I realized I thought to bring them and I realized I forgot. This is why picking up your homework very important. Relying on someone else always ends up there.
So how and when can I see you?
I don't know. I have to think about it.
May I see?
Sure.
Take your time.
So I am going to do a demo, folks at home. And folks here, if we're interested in watching. It's been a while since I've reviewed watercolor technique.
Laura.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I'm almost ready to begin. Only got one more thing. Yeah. What's nice? Yeah. Right. So those of you who are interested in how to do water quality, start the demonstration now.
Nice.
You can watch on the big screen or you can stand behind the camera. And that watercolor paint is water based. You must add water to the paint in order to make it work. These are not the highest quality watercolor paints on earth. These are just elementary school paints. So to get them started, you may need a lot of water. The more water you use with these paints, the more transparent they will be. The water, less color. It's the basic. More water, the more it will run. Liquid, the more you can play. Want things to be precise, bold, hey, dark. You want to use a brush with a very fine tip. So more fruits, water, fruits, more. Edge, precise line, you need a thin brush. Fill an object in, small object. You want thin more water you use, the more difficult it is to control where the thing goes. With this kind of work, that's fine. That's what you want. For example, if you want to
I'm not maybe.
Oh, see how I'm in control. Notice how I hold the breath. And there's still her part of the breath. So, if you have too much water in your painting and you want to decrease it, you can take paper towel and sop it up. Okay. Those are the basic things about water. The brushes come in different sizes and you can use them. More you have. The color. More water. More intense. The more water. The more apparent. So the water curtain, I like to use a lot of water. Create what are called washes. Like fill in the background. Then start to smell. But the watercolor run like that and do its own thing. Now, if you want to do mixed media, remember oil pastel will not mix with the paint. So you can do your little detail work with oil pastel first, and then you can paint over it. still is. Oil and water, not mirror. And Bill Mitchell did a lot of this in her own work. She loved it. And she would do some of that stuff. A 3-year-old is as much an artist as we are. Right? Doesn't matter. Just say, if someone is young, so that's an artist. If someone is 77, I don't know why that makes a difference. And practice, education, experience, guidance from teachers. But children have gifts. Although Picasso spent his entire life trying to think as a child.
Nobody wants to end up like Van Gogh.
What?
Nobody wants to end up like Van Gogh.
End up like a what?
Like Van Gogh.
Nobody wants to end up like Van Gogh.
Like Van Gogh.
I heard that, but I would like to end up like Van Gogh. Relatives. All end up like Van Gogh. Yes, we're now gonna, yes, take it. You can have all of it. Yeah.
The system on the field.
So sorry.
I'm sure you're sure you got inspired.
I'm just gonna bring the garbage can over. I got it, Liz, you don't need to go away. I got it. Thank you. All right, let's put a picture up for us to. But be careful, that stuff is so wet. Don't get it all over your clothes. And you could look at it this way, the abstract expressionists freed us to do things from our soul and our heart, allowed us to play and experiment in ways that were unknown before. I think we should all thank them. My personal belief. So here's a Joan Mitchell for those of you who would like to copy one of her pieces. Please do. Look at the contrast, straight crazy or curvy. Have fun with contrast. Think landscape, maybe those great shapes are forests. And the wild and crazy lines are under the sea. No. Too pale means you need more paint, less water. Expensive. Treated it over the years. Folks at home, are we happy? We good?
A little frustrated by the limits of time and not being able to get into your class early, but I'll do the best I can, and I have to leave at 12:15 for a bus. But
Oh.
I'll send you a JPEG if I don't get it finished.
You always do magic, and this woman you can relate to because she's
Totally.
other person.
Yes, totally. Thanks.
By what you can. Your chance to let loose. Traditional religion is, you know,
Okay, this is a poem. I was inspired by one of them. Huge ice cream cone around me. What inspired me the most.
Well, so an actual memory.
Yes,
You're
this is
trying to
a great,
recreate.
yes.
Good. She
And a
loved
big
it.
ice cream
Oh,
cone, because I
And I
never.
forgot to read poetry. I gotta do the poetry thing. You just reminded me. So this is a poem, nice beginning. This is a poem by Louise Gluck or Gluck called The Red Poppy. Look at the art on this side.
Line of this cup.
A little blue, a little teeny bit of orange. The red poppy. The great thing is not having a mind. Feeling. Oh, I have those. They govern me. I have a Lord in heaven called the sun, and to open for him, showing him the fire of my own heart. Fire like his presence. What could such glory be if not a heart? Oh, my brothers and sisters, were you like me once, long ago, before you were human? Did you permit yourselves to open once, who would never open again? Because in truth, I am speaking now the way you do. I speak because I am shattered. Anyone else would like to hear the poem?
But it's fairly long.
You mean like fairly long?
And,
Is it under 5 minutes?
yes, it's under 5 minutes, but it's under 5 minutes. It's like,
Wow.
it's kind of like five paragraphs.
Go, girl. Oh, you lost it?
Yeah, I just get it. His house is in the village hill. He will not see me stopping here to watch his boots fill up the snow. My little horse must think it fair to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year.
Beautiful.
He gives his harness bells the shade to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the street of hazy wind and downy clay. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. But I have promised to keep the miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before
Beautifully written. And then,
That one is actually a classic. to get the title once the A wanted by their money. Was thrilling and the slidey toes, Itgar and Gimbal in the wave, all mincy were the burrow, and the mome rat outbreak. Beware the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his orpal floor in hand. Long time the manxome foe he thought, so he rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as if a fish through the he stood, the jabberwock, with the eyes of flame, came within through the tulgey wood, and verbal as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through. The orpal blade went snicker snack. He left it dead, and with his head, he went galloping back. Ah, hast thou slain the jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy, of Fabius day, Kalut Kala, eternal in his joy. It was bringing, and the sliding toes, the gyre and gimbal in their way. All mincy were the burrows and the mome rat outbreak.
Well done.
Was that Alice in Wonderland?
Yes, it's the jabberwock.
Oh, okay, well, okay.
Definitely a classic. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Anyone at home have a poem that you want to read?
That was mostly kind of like
It was well done. All right, you want me to read some more, or have we had enough poetry? Want me-
Liz,
Yes,
I
sir.
have a piece that I have very fun.
And it would have been wonderful.
However,
Oh, maybe it's with the paintings of yours that I left home. Okay, this is the title poem of the book. This is called The Wild Iris by Louise Gluck. And it goes like this. The Wild Iris. At the end of my suffering, there was a door. Hear me out. That which you call death, I remember. Overhead, noises, branches of the pine shifting, then nothing. The weak sun flickered over the dry surface. It is terrible to survive as consciousness buried in the dark earth. Then it was over. That which you fear, being a soul and unable to speak, ending abruptly, the stiff earth bending a little, and what I took to be birds darting in low shrubs. You who do not remember passage from the other world, I tell you I could speak again. Whatever returns from oblivion returns to find a voice. From the center of my life came a great fountain, deep blue shadows on azure seawater. I like the colors she has in her poems. Here's one called Heaven and Earth. When one finishes, the other begins. On top, a band of blue. Underneath, a band of green and gold, green and deep rose. John stands at the horizon. He wants both at once. He wants everything at once. The extremes are easy. Only the middle is a puzzle. Midsummer, everything is possible. Meaning, never again will life end. How can I leave my husband standing in the garden dreaming this sort of thing? Holding his rake, triumphantly preparing to announce this discovery, as the fire of the summer sun truly does stall, being entirely contained by the burning maples, the garden's border.
She's amazing.
She really is. I love her work. Her last name is spelled Gluck, and there are two dots over the U. So I don't know if it's Gluck or Gluck. Here's one called Song. Like a protected heart, the blood red flower of the wild rose begins to open on the lowest branch. Supported by the netted mass of a large shrub, it blooms against the dark, which is the heart's constant backdrop, while flowers higher up have wilted or rotted. To survive adversity merely deepens its color. But John objects. He thinks if this were not a poem, but an actual garden, then the red rose would be required to resemble nothing else, neither another flower nor the shadowy heart, at earth level, pulsing half maroon, half crimson. I do. I love her poems. All right, I'm going to go check out what everybody is working on, and then if there's time, I might read some more. Yes, John.
However, what I was gonna say is, I can say it off the top
Oh, you haven't memorized. Go ahead.
of my head. It's
Have at it.
step. It's called In Time. In time, cast not a shade of darkness over any mankind left unshadowed, not to be bewildered in heart or soul or tormented by unjust. Take God by the hand, for he shall lead you from darkness to brighter day. And I want to let you know.
Who is the author?
Me.
Oh, you wrote it yourself.
Nice.
Oh.
And I'm honored to say that Christian Big Publishing Company is publishing my first book of poetry. Thank you. Going over 20 years of writing, going through my notebook. I took a creative course at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and my creative writing teacher said, "John, whatever you do, never stop writing. What I do, I stop writing." Then once the book by Julia Cameron came into my life, called The Artist's Way, which I highly recommend, changed my
Oh, I'm sure this library owns at least one copy of that book, The Artist's Way by Julia.
So it'll be about 9 months, but when it's published, I'm gonna have a lot of books signed. So I'll let everybody know.
Wonderful.
And
Thank you.
all of you will get a autograph.
Wow.
It's
That's very good. Hey, yes.
really difficult with the oil pastels because they have such clean shape. Why? With the chocolate. Or the good exact yeah, that's oil pastel. You can do it with this. It's going to be challenging. I mean, I'm just going to try it. Okay, I will put it and then you can paint right over it. Yeah. Just browse it. You can absolutely do it. Don't all want me to turn you into Michelangelo. That's not my goal. Not my goal. I just want you to relax and enjoy. And have fun experimenting with the supply. Stop putting so much water on yours. Start with thin, stiff brush. Start adding more color and detail. When you start seeing the water paper make little what I call pills, it means you've got too much water and you're rubbing the paper too hard. Maybe time for you to stop and start using the fine point brushes and start adding some detail. Boy, like if these are good, they're rich.
Loves doing that stretch. Oh, you have your straw today.
That's why
That is one way to do abstract art, yeah.
I got it at home, so I went to the little store, got one.
I love doing that technique with children. Oh, who gave me a lollipop? Isn't that nice? Thank you. Do we want more poems? I think we're done with that. Oh, thank you. Oh, this is some good news. Always love that your pictures. Thank you.
I said, ice cream.
Sure, sorry for the landing here.
It's strawberry.
Oh, okay. There, okay.
Ice cream in a flower. Yeah. But it's like old school. But I like it.
Wow.
Maybe the white. The white. The white. Okay, yeah. The textural.
Yeah. Clouds. Yeah, I like how you're mixing palettes like that. It's very nice. You see this, oh, it's so easy to copy. You know, I don't think she ever married.
Oh, okay, I thought she was, I think I heard mixed up with somebody else.
I think you might be thinking of Frank, either Helen Frankenthal.
That's the one.
Yeah, she was single.
Oh, okay, so she.
Might have been involved with a poet. Let's Google. Folks at home, we good?
Good.
Okay, good.
Yep.
We had a large circle of friends. She had a horrible death. She had oral cancer. They removed her jaw.
Were you Googling?
This Joan Mitchell. Removal of the jaw was advised, but she got a second opinion. But her jawbone, she had a dead jawbone. She quit smoking, but remained a heavy drinker. I'm not sure. Oh, she died in 92. And what year was she born? She was born in 25. So she, yeah, she was not that old. Yep, 67.
This kind of work doesn't feel like it was done by somebody that old, born that early on. It's
Right.
really quite something that she did all this, and she's known for it, It's
Yes.
amazing.
And she was one of the few female artists who broke into the abstract expressionist world. It was really a man's world. So she was quite accomplished. Yeah, nothing about her ever dying, marrying. In the final years of her life, her subject was sunflowers. From 1990 to 1991, she painted a series of sunflowers. She wanted to convey the feeling of a dying sunflower. Yeah, she went through considerable radiation oncology therapy, which helped her create a lot of work that reflect the psychological changes cancer had affected on her. During her recuperation, she started doing watercolor paintings. She had to work in a smaller format, which forced her to use watercolor. It's almost 12 o'clock, so we have about 10, 15 minutes till cleanup. So you might want to start thinking about finishing up if you have not already.
Liz,
Yes, sir.
that's like George O'Keeffe, when she lost the central vision,
Yes.
that's what she turned into art.
Yep. And she was lucky to be living with that young man who was a ceramicist.
Alfred Studd.
That was her husband.
Oh. Oh, I see.
What's the name of it? Ceramicist.
Right,
It
right.
was a wonderful name. Right, we lived with Stevens and his mom. We also had an apartment.
I didn't know that.
He was born.
I think.
There's a plaque on Hudson. He was born,
Or maybe it wasn't one, right?
but he lived here.
Yeah, he did.
Husband of George Oak.
Right,
He was a brilliant photographer. He owned a gallery in New York. The show that Joan Mitchell was in, the what was it called? The Night Show? New York Nine show was by Stieglitz was the main curator. He brought a lot of painters from Europe that changed the lives of many, many American artists. They learned about abstract expression. Okay. Now, it's just, yeah. Usually I tell you to cover all the work.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want you to do it.
Okay.
Like Picasso and Kurt Schwitters. Stieglitz was born in Hopewell.
Really?
Or is it, Georgia, born in.
You know the location?
500 Hudson.
There's a plaque.
Yeah.
Bronze plaque on the outs, either on the outside of the building or on the wrought iron fence.
I'll have to go away.
500 for Hudson?
500.
Because, Stephen Forster, nobody's heard of it.
Yes. And also the poet who wrote. Joyce Kilmer. Was Joyce Kilmer born in Hoboken or?
I have
lived
no
in-
idea, I have no idea. But lots of people pass through. Stay for sure.
I'd like to know more about how Stieglitz went from Hoboken to Europe. What led him?
I think he was in upstate, well, lived in upstate, like, work.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
But how did you get to Europe and befriend all the great European artists? You knew them all. Five minutes, folks, still clean up.
And I'm not using watercolor. That's what made me.
Not bad, but it's gonna have a different effect. Softness. Should only have used this.
But that I was.
Well, the softness how it spread. It was. It changed the effect. Like, I would fill in this one. I'm not sure what color. Yeah. So it only washes the
No,
water.
mine is actually very childlike. But I know when I'm in there.
Yeah. It's a message.
That's right, exactly.
How you come to that? Those, all the different values. Great.
That's very nice.
All right, let's start cleaning up, folks. So sorry. But if you want to have time to share, we have to clean up now. Please.
Wow.
Your allergies, I feel your pain. Nice. See you next week. Finish up, we have to clean up now. Clean up time. And I'm gonna stop the share, folks at home, letting you know. We are cleaning up here so that we can have time to share.
It's transformed. The room, I mean, it's, I came here for go with, and on Sunday they had the garden club.
Very nice.
I like it. I look at it, never satisfied.
No artist ever.
Occasionally I am.
Why so?
I'm gonna put the name of the poet in the chat. Name is Louise Gluck. I wonder if it will let me. Yes, it let me put the 2 dots over the U.
Liz,
Yes, sir. Oops, I
my water,
misspelled.
do I dump that in the water picture or
No, in the sink, please.
That's called an umlaut.
Is that an umlaut? I thought the umlaut was a little tent shaped thing.
It's the dots.
So do you know how it would be pronounced?
Umlaut.
No, the U sound with the umlaut.
Glück. Glück, I think. From what
You,
I remember from singing German, I think it's Glück, but I'm not an expert.
thank you.
Ice cream.
So there, her first name is now spelled correctly. Louise Gluck, maybe? John, we're waiting for you.
It's a little wet.
Well, cleaning. You-
Oh,
We have to clean up so we can share. Clean, 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 everyone.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you.
See you later. Sally, are you all cleaned up?
And also the birds on the side.
From here, I want to the.
Yeah, I'm on water. Everything out there.
Yeah. I just, I just. Yeah. You did it. I can,
That was what I meant by your homework. Okay.
homework. Homework.
More homework.
Yes.
Where's the one you did free? Where's the big one?
A big at home.
Okay, I'm coming in behind you to sit down.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. All right, okay.
One hour.
All right, water, please. Let's clean.
Oh, wow.
There you are.
Oh. Dog, my favorite color.
He's actually coming back today.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, I got one of those texts right before I started teaching today.
Okay.
Sorry for the late notice, Mom. I dropped the dog off. Before I go to work. Share. Yep. So much.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you.
Laura.
Bye,
So
girl.
welcome.
You don't want to share?
Oh, you have to make the. Oh, Diana, you.
No, I'm not in a rush today. No. Yeah, no, last week I went for my passport, so I had to get uptown.
Where did you go for your passport?
Fairview, post office.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, they also do that at the multi-center. IDs, renewals.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They'll give me a real ID.
Yes, as a senior,
I'm so near.
No, I have my.
No,
real
this is
ID.
only a mobile thing.
Yeah, you passported any mail?
I don't know.
post office in the country.
Yeah, but you have to go online and I didn't do that.
You need
so
to
I
make an
just
appointment.
Did a walk-in, yeah, I did a walk-in.
Yeah.
8 o'clock Wednesday morning, but I went to pick up the paperwork.
All right, let's start sharing. I think it's in-house today first, so who wants to go first? I'm going to start on this side today. Ken, would you like to share? I'm going to go over here so I can see.
All right. So this based on photographs of Central Park in the autumn. So there are actually a couple of trees that kind of look like this. And what I'm doing here is experimenting with the oil pastels. And I'm not trying to draw it very precisely. I'm kind of like half looking and half not looking as I make little squiggles and strokes all over the place. And eventually it comes out to be, something that's kind of combining something representational with something that's a little bit abstract in some respects.
Very nice.
So I kind of think of nature as like that, because you start with all these random particles emerging out of nothing, and then they kind of coalesce and order comes out of chaos. You see what I mean? It's not imposed order. The order just emerges out of the spontaneity of everything that exists. So it's a different way of looking at creativity and creation than some people might traditionally think of it.
Love the
Love and the topic.
How you create a foreground, because your eye really goes to the back. Mature.
Notice the way the black trees are larger than the smaller trees behind.
And the value in the back is wider.
Right, the trees
Yeah.
behind
Even and
are
the
duller
sky.
and grayer and smaller, and that's what creates the
Yeah, to give depth. So things in the background are paler and smaller. There's more atmosphere between you and the distant objects. So mountains in the distance will look paler too. And and there is a poem that goes with this. And here's the poem. Dreaming trees root ever deeper into forgotten seasons, veiled by curtains of rain and sun. Whisper leaves. Oh, fallen hours, muted by time, stand again, chorus your thousand voices. I am alive again. I am here. I am now. I am the seed that fell, and I arise again. So that's just a little poem I wrote one time. Why I love that.
incredible. Both the poem and
Yeah, it doesn't feel entirely finished. It's,
well, we look forward to seeing it when it is.
I'll have to buy some oil pastels to keep working. Oh, and I was thinking originally of doing a little bit what you showed us in the demo, using water to like not the oil
Yes,
pastel.
you can,
But then I didn't keep going with that. I didn't switch to that. I kept going with the oil pastel. But if I want buy oil pastels, then experiment like spritzing in a spray bottle, rubbing alcohol on top, and see what that does.
Well, my first impression of Santa Monica Pier, it was just so turn of the century to me. It was just like so simple. I found it just very stimulating going on the carousel that I know that Marilyn Monroe was on many times. And I went to the little tiny aquarium and just watched the fishermen. And I treated myself because I really don't eat ice cream, but I had a huge strawberry cone that day. And it was just so peaceful, and it just reminded me of good old times that when people were just happy with little things. So, yeah, that was
It's
my
like a
inspiration.
picture of the memories.
Yeah, when I got off and I saw the carousel because with the tour bus, the guy tells you little bits and pieces, and he said, Marilyn Monroe, before she even was a starlet, she used to come here and just hang out and go on the carousel. I says, she's like my idol, everybody, I think. But it was just like simple times. It just reminded me of simple times when people were happy with going on the Ferris wheel and just hanging out on the boardwalk, which is
Charming. I
yeah,
love
thank
it,
you.
love it,
Thank
love
you.
it. Great
Thank you for
colors,
letting me share.
great shapes, great text. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, she's great.
Beautiful colors.
Yes.
Mixture. I don't know.
Spent my summers. This is Lake Michigan.
Contracts of all the tiny detail with the dance I could see.
Yeah.
This would have been like 4th of July weekend, probably. Really busy.
I love the way she let the blue from the edge of the ocean bleed into the sky.
Oh, it's a
and the
lake.
Sand like that.
It's a lake, not an ocean. Oh, yeah,
Oh, it's a lake. Lake Michigan is like the ocean.
Very well done.
thank you.
Captured it. Mhm.
I'd rather be criticized.
Very nice, Daniel.
It's a mango tree that was from my hometown.
Yeah.
I love the way you did the tree photo.
I did wanted to add some blood on the trunk because of that incident that happened to my sister.
She was okay.
Yeah, she just fell down on a tree upside down and blood splattered on it because she was climbing the tree and all this stuff.
Yeah. Ouch. But I do love the way you created the top of that tree. It looks so real. Wonderful. Well done, Dave. John?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Be careful of
I
my,
solicited advice.
be careful of my laptop, please.
Yeah,
Scott. Try not to get it.
Yeah,
wet.
it's on now.
Thank you very much.
It's not.
Very nice. Very nice.
There.
That's what I call spider paint.
So how did you do that? To spread out the lines?
I drip the paint and
You
then
just turn the paper around?
no, I drip the paint and then I use a straw
Uh-huh.
and blow through the straw.
Oh,
And then there we go. And then I really this happened by accident. When I lay my paintbrush down on the paper towels, it absorbs the paint from the brush. So I get, and I'll probably fold it and make sculpture out of it, like little pieces. But the colors, It's almost like using chromatography because it separates the color from the pigment.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
That's where it's.
Okay. Thank you.
You share, Alice? Sure.
Oh, I forgot one.
I like the blue.
That's one of my favorite color blues in that palette. What kind of blue would you call that? Cerulean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got folks at home, John.
Oh.
And share. We have 1 minute left. Oh, no, they seem to have left. All right, so goodbye, everyone. I will see everyone in May. Have a wonderful week, art on, and see you all soon. Great art today.